Welcome back. Today we're off on a new adventure, and if all goes well, we'll be flying Singapore Airlines in a 777-300ER in business class. But we're starting the day in Washington, D.C. Our flight leaves from New York, so we got to get up there first, and it's also the busiest travel day of the year. So stick around and let's see if we can make it happen. Singapore Airlines is routinely ranked one of the best airlines in the world, but we're not headed to Singapore. Our goal is to hop on one of their 5th Freedom routes. So join us as we hit 3 different airports, all before we step on board what might be the best international business class experience in the sky. Welcome to Travel at Random. We're Trevor and Ryan. This channel started out of a love of travel. We're here to share unbiased and self-funded trip reports, hotel and flight reviews, and travel advice. We hope we inspire your next getaway. Check out our playlist in the description and browse the channel. If you enjoy this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Thank you for watching. A quick plug before we hop into this flight review. We recently launched our new YouTube channel memberships and Patreon. If you enjoy this video, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. But if you're interested in taking your support of the channel even further, check out our memberships or join us on Patreon. We have some member-exclusive content, travel tips, and posts. Regardless of what you do, we appreciate you taking the time to watch our videos. Now, let's head to the airport. We've managed to overcomplicate our flight out today. We're starting the travel day in the Washington, D.C. area and taking a short flight from DCA to LaGuardia. But our flight on Singapore to Frankfurt, Germany departs from JFK. I promise there was a logic behind this choice. The trip we are starting today is nearly 2 weeks long and we have checked bags. Delta does fly from DCA to JFK, and Delta and Singapore both use Terminal 4 at JFK. However, none of the flight times were going to work well with our connection to Singapore Airlines. Since Delta is SkyTeam and Singapore is Star Alliance, we have to claim our bags in New York and then recheck them with Singapore. Sometimes Delta will interline with non-SkyTeam carriers, but this is never guaranteed. Singapore only opens their check-in 3 hours before the flight, and the DCA to JFK flight gets in 8 hours before our flight, meaning we were going to be spending about 5 hours waiting outside of security at JFK. Delta flies from DCA to LaGuardia nearly every hour, providing more convenient connection options for us. So we opted to fly to LaGuardia instead. We'd pre-arranged a car service to meet us at LaGuardia and take us across Queens to JFK. This is only about a 12-mile drive and should only take about 20 minutes on a good day. Today was not a good day, and it was a good 40 minutes. All in all, this was better than the alternative, but traffic was heavy and slow on this rainy day. Oh, and we're traveling with Trevor's parents, so you might see them in some of the footage as we navigate the airports. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, here we are at JFK Terminal 4. Terminal 4 is the largest of the terminals at JFK and is home to Delta Airlines and some of its SkyTeam partners, as well as many international carriers including Emirates, Etihad, and Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines operates this one daily flight to Frankfurt that then continues on to Singapore, and a non-stop flight to Singapore, which is currently the longest flight in the world. Singapore Airlines opens their check-in desks at JFK 3 hours before departure, so in our case, about 5 p.m. But they were open at 4:30 when we arrived. There is a dedicated line each for first, business, premium economy, and economy passengers. There are self-service kiosks also available. Business class tickets include 2 checked bags up to 70 pounds each or 32 kilos. If you have higher status, you get additional bags. Our bags were also free on Delta due to our Delta status. After checking bags, we headed to the security checkpoint, which at JFK can take a while, even with pre-check. The lines were excessive tonight. We also have Clear, which was the savior of the night, as we walked right through security in less than 5 minutes. Trevor's mom has pre-check, and it took her about 15 minutes. His dad has nothing. and even using the business class line, it took him an hour. Now that we're through security, let's head to the lounge. As of June 2025, passengers flying in Singapore First or Business Class or PPS Club members can now use the brand new Capital One Lounge in Terminal 4. This is in addition to the Air India Lounge, the Hello Sky Lounge, and for First and PPS Club members, the Virgin Clubhouse. If you are not flying in First or Business and instead are relying on your Star Alliance or KrisFlyer status, you can use the Air India or Hello Sky lounges. The Capital One Lounge is the largest in their network right now and is open 24/7. First class and PPS Club members are allowed one guest. Business class tickets do not get guests. This lounge features great views of the ramp, 2 shower suites, free high-speed Wi-Fi, and USB-C ports at every seat. There are a few different stations with food along the wall to one side of the lounge. The food here is plated individually, which is a nice touch. There were a couple of options. You can also order hot dishes directly from your seat using the QR codes at each table. The menu was not huge, but you could order as much as you want and it came out quickly. There are also 2 specialty food areas, an espresso bar and a cheesemonger. The espresso bar had pastries and grab-and-go items. The cheesemonger had a few plates you could pick up, or you could book a cheese tasting through the reception desk. The lounge featured plenty of seating, most set up with tables. There were no lounger-style chairs. On the other side of the lounge is the bar, Death & Co. The bar has a curated cocktail list with nods to the New York boroughs, and there's even a special skyscraper IPA made just for this lounge by a local brewery. The Jet Setter, a take on the aviation cocktail, was delicious. Overall, this lounge was a great spot to relax before our flight. There was no line, and we were able to find seats easily. By comparison, the American Express Centurion Lounge had a wait list. Once daily at sunset, rumor has it a champagne cart rolls around with high-end champagne, but we missed it today. Thanks to our American Express Platinum card, we also had access to the American Express Centurion Lounge right after security. But the lounge was over capacity and there was a cluster of folks waiting to get in, so we skipped it this time. Our 7-hour and 6-minute flight today takes us 3,900 miles from New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport to Frankfurt International Airport in Germany on board a Singapore Airlines 777-300ER in business class. This is SQ-25, a red-eye overnight flight. We're departing around 8:15 p.m. and due to arrive in Frankfurt just before 10 a.m. the next day. We ended up arriving early, about 9:19 a.m. SQ-25 is a 5th Freedom route and it continues on to Singapore after a brief stop in Frankfurt. A 5th Freedom flight is when a carrier flies between 2 countries that are not their home country. These require special permission from the countries that the flights connect, and the carrier must originate or be heading to their home country. So this New York to Frankfurt flight concludes in Singapore. Tonight's flight is departing from gate A7 in Terminal 4. Boarding started right on time at 7:45. We assisted Trevor's parents during pre-boarding, but business class normally boards right after first class, and Singapore is great at dividing the boarding groups. They used both boarding bridges with first and business boarding at the front, and boarding was done within about 20 minutes. This aircraft features 48 business class seats in a 1-2-1 configuration across 2 cabins. There's a smaller cabin up front just behind first class which has 12 seats. The other 36 are behind the lavatories and the mid-galley. This plane also features 4 first class seats in a 1-2-1 configuration, 28 premium economy seats in a 2-4-2 configuration, and 184 economy seats in a 3-3-3. We're in the forward business class mini cabin today, in seats 11A and 12A. These are both window seats. Every seat is the same configuration, with the seat on the aisle and the console on the opposite side. The bulkhead seats in both business class cabins have a more open configuration. These seats can only be moved into 96 hours before departure if you call, or open up at check-in, which is how Trevor was able to claim one. Each seat is 28 inches wide and folds flat into a 78-inch fully flat bed. But not how you'd expect. More on that shortly. There are many opinions on these seats in bed mode, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. The space behind your seat holds your bedding and a pillow. There's also a pillow and a blanket on your seat at boarding. To the side of your seat is a small closing compartment with a universal power socket and 2 USB-A ports. There's also an adjustable reading light and a larger open compartment. On the other side are 3 more reading lights in a variety of angles and your seating controls. The armrest has another closing compartment, which holds a bottle of water and your noise-canceling headphones. In front of that, there's a literature compartment. The tray table pops up and out and is large and even height adjustable. In front of the seat is a built-in shelf which works as a cup holder, a closing storage compartment, and a door which hides a small vanity mirror. Super handy for getting those contact lenses back in. Each seat has an 18-inch IFE screen, which is bright and responsive. There is a Panasonic IFE remote control with a second screen. The IFE is not a touchscreen, but the remote is easy to use and works well. The screen can tilt a bit so you can have a better viewing angle while lying down. This is a great IFE system, and we'll get more into that in just a moment. The seat controls allow you to recline the seat, but in order to turn it into a bed, the back actually folds forward. The back of the seat has a mattress topper attached to it, and the flight attendants are always happy to set up your bed. The part of the seat some people complain about is the footwell, which is at an odd angle. We know some people have mixed feelings about these business class seats, but we've personally flown on them on the A350, and we loved the width of the seat. And we thought the sleeping angle was perfectly fine. Even Trevor, at 6'4", can find an angle that fits. These seats provide a lot of shoulder room, which many business class seats don't have. If you're a side sleeper, you'll probably like these seats. They are a bit on the firm side, and the bedding is nice, but the blanket is a little short. The pillows are nice and fluffy. Overall, the design of the Singapore business class cabin on both the long-haul 777 and their long-haul A350s is one of our favorites. The seats are very wide and spacious. The color and design is very soothing. While they don't have a closing door, these seats feel very private. After boarding, pre-departure drinks of tomato, orange, and apple juice were served. No alcohol tonight. A hot towel was also provided. It's a nighttime departure today, so the views are a little dark. We pulled back from the gate right on time and had a short taxi to the runway. Singapore Airlines provides free Wi-Fi for premium cabin passengers. Trevor got it to work once in the air, although the speeds were pretty slow. You can also sign into the IFE system with your KrisFlyer account, although it did not work on tonight's flight. It normally lets you favorite movies and TV shows and easily keep track of what you're watching, which is a great feature. The IFE is one of the best in the skies and features hundreds of movies and TV episodes, as well as live TV. We also like that they tend to have full seasons of TV shows. They do play a few very Singapore-focused ads before your movie, which is a little annoying. This aircraft also has a moving map and flight tracker, which works well. Let's talk about the food. Singapore Airlines releases updates on their menus monthly, and you can look up your flight online at inflightmenu.singaporeair.com about 2 weeks prior to your flight. You can pre-order your meals through their website or app, and on most routes, you can also pick from their Book the Cook option, which has a range of options from around the world. Service starts with drinks. We both ordered the Silver Crisp Sling, which is a gin, orange, and champagne cocktail. They sadly did not have the Singapore Sling tonight. Trevor also got a glass of champagne, although he was tired and couldn't recall asking for it, but he enjoyed it just the same. The table is then set with a linen tablecloth, butter dish, red plate, salt and pepper, and flatware. Singapore does not use trays in their long-haul business class. Each course will be served to your table. This is a nice touch, and we wish US carriers would elevate their service to this level. Tonight's starter, Hudson Valley cold smoked steelhead trout with microgreens, served with a Meyer lemon vinaigrette cucumbers, and pickled red onions. This was fresh and had good smoke flavor, not fishy at all. The pickled onions provided a nice contrast to the smoked fish, and we both enjoyed this. This was one of the best starters we've had on Singapore. A bread basket was brought around, and of course, it had the garlic toast. On this flight, it was nice, hot, and fresh. For the main course, I ordered the chicken and rice from Book the Cook, which is a famous dish in Singapore. It's poached chicken sliced and served with long grain rice and has a selection of sauces, a dark soya sauce, ginger sauce, and chili lime sauce. I've seen photos of this dish and it looked good, but what I got looked kind of sad. This was catered out of JFK, so keep that in mind. I found the portion of the chicken to be very small and some of the chicken wasn't very good. The skin was soft and rubbery, however the rice and sauces were good. Trevor ordered the braised beef brisket and tomato soup with rice noodles. This was served with mushrooms and oriental greens. Now, you may notice that's not what you see here. There was a tiny mix-up and he was served the beef fillet instead. The flight attendant did catch this after a few minutes and offered to correct it, but he opted to stick with it. The fillet was a little tough, but it was good. The sides were excellent though, particularly the fondant potatoes. For dessert tonight, the options were Haagen-Dazs Java chip ice cream, spiced apple cake, fresh fruit, or a cheese platter. We both chose the spiced apple cake, which was gluten-free, so the texture was a little dry, but the spice was excellent. It would have been a bit better warmed up perhaps, but we enjoyed it. After dinner, pralines were brought around, a selection of chocolates. These were very good and a nice touch. Due to the length of this flight, there was no snack menu today. About 2 hours before landing, there was a second light meal service. This meal you can't pre-order. There were two options, a pulled chicken barbecue sandwich with coleslaw and potato wedges, or egg noodles with black pepper pork belly. We both ordered the pork belly dish. It was delicious, well seasoned, and the pork was nice and tender. The noodles had a good texture. There was even a crispy fried egg on the dish. This was great and actually our favorite dish of the flight. We had a bit of coffee here to try and make up for the fact that we had gotten just under 3 hours of sleep. Singapore is known for their catering, but this flight out of JFK and the catering from JFK isn't as strong as what we've experienced out of Changi, Tokyo, or LAX on previous Singapore flights. There are 3 lavatories for the business class passengers. They're located between the forward mini section and aft larger section. The lavs are pretty nice and feature real cloth hand towels as well as some nice hand lotion and facial mist. Singapore Airlines doesn't give out traditional amenity kits, but in the business class lavatories you'll find toothbrushes, shaving kits, and some other items. We also like to see the foot pedal to operate the lid to the trash. The crew kept these lavatories spotless during our flight, and we've experienced the same thing on other Singapore flights. While we are fans of these business class seats, what also sets Singapore Airlines apart is service. This crew was no exception. They are always friendly, inviting, and professional. Throughout this flight, the crew was proactive with drinks, food, and anything you might need. They walked the aisles constantly. They refreshed the lavatories frequently, sometimes after each passenger. Enjoy our descent and landing into Frankfurt, and we'll be back to wrap things up. Upon landing, we had a quick taxi over to Terminal 1, which is Lufthansa's main terminal at Frankfurt. And since Singapore is a Star Alliance partner, they use the same terminal. We had a bit of an odd adventure to get to New York to catch this flight, and flying Singapore Airlines to Germany from the US sounds like a crazy idea, but we really enjoyed tonight's flight. Our expectations were high, and this crew delivered. As nice as the seat is, we do want to point out a few things to keep in mind. This is a short red eye, coming in at around 7 hours, less with a good tailwind. With meal services, that only leaves about 2 to 3 hours to sleep, but this applies to most US East Coast to Europe flights. Singapore doesn't have the best ground experience at JFK, but with the Capital One Lounge, it is better than it used to be. If you really want to experience their best offering, fly or connect through Singapore. Their lounges at Changi Airport are some of our favorites. The Singapore Airlines app and digital experience is okay, but nowhere near as good as some of the big US carriers such as Delta and United. With all that said, they are still one of our favorite airlines, and we continue to debate if we like this seat more than Qatar's Q Suites. Join us next week as we step on board what could be the most luxurious river cruise boat in Europe. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to stay up to date on our latest video releases. Both of these things really help out the channel. Also, if you'd like to support the channel even more, check out our channel memberships here on YouTube or over on Patreon. Both feature the same exclusive posts and content. And lastly, we started a small shop featuring some channel branded gear, which you can check out. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next adventure.